The battlefield was silent. The smoke of burning villages had long since faded, carried away by the wind that whispered through the valleys of Japan. Bodies lay where they had fallen, men who once stood as warriors, their souls now lingering like ghosts beneath the blood-red sky. And yet, one man remained.
The fall of an era.
He stood atop the hill, his armor fractured, his robes soaked in blood, some his, most not. His katana, once a gleaming testament to his honor, was now chipped and darkened with death. His name was Hirotaka Genji, and he was the last of his kind. For centuries, the samurai had ruled the land, bound by Bushido, the code of honor, loyalty, and death. But times had changed, the shogunate had fallen. The emperor, once a distant figurehead, had embraced the modern world, casting aside the old ways for Western steel and gunpowder. The samurai had become obsolete. They had fought against it. They had taken up arms, standing against rifles and cannons with nothing but blades and spirit. But spirit alone could not stop bullets. His brothers had died one by one, cut down by a future they could not fight. The battle had been lost before it had even begun. Now he was the last.
The warrior's oath.
Hirotaka could feel the weight of unseen eyes upon him, the spirits of the fallen, the ancestors who had once watched over Japan. They had been betrayed, their ways erased, their traditions burned to the ground. But he would not allow himself to fade quietly into history, not without a final stand. Far below, in the valley, they were coming. The imperial soldiers dressed in foreign uniforms, carrying rifles that glinted beneath the setting sun. There were dozens, perhaps hundreds. It did not matter. Hirotaka knelt, pressing his forehead against the hilt of his sword. His final prayer was not for victory.
The last stand.
The first shot rang through the valley, shattering the silence. A bullet tore through Hirotaka's shoulder, knocking him back a step. The pain was sharp, but it did not slow him. He surged forward, his katana flashing in the dimming light. The first soldier did not even have time to scream before his head separated from his shoulders. The body collapsing in a heap, gunfire erupted. Hirotaka did not stop. He weaved between them, steel against lead, flesh against fire. A blade found a throat, another pierced a stomach. Blood sprayed in the air, warm against his skin. A bayonet lunged toward him. He twisted, sidestepped, and in one fluid motion, severed the attacker's arm at the elbow. The soldier's agonized scream barely reached Hirotaka's ears before he drove his katana into the man's chest. The world around him blurred into chaos, bullets whistling past, blades clashing, bodies falling. A second shot struck his thigh. He faltered. A third burned through his side. His vision darkened. Still, he fought. He would not fall like a dog.
The death of a warrior.
His katana felt heavier now. The pain in his body was growing, fire in his veins, cold in his bones. Another soldier rushed forward, rifle raised, to slow. Hirotaka sidestepped, slicing the man across the chest, but the moment left him open. The fourth bullet knocked him to his knees. His grip on his sword wavered. His breathing was shallow. The remaining soldiers formed a circle around him, weapons raised, waiting for the order to finish him. But they hesitated. Even in his defeat, he was terrifying. Blood dripped from his lips, but his eyes were still fierce. Still unbroken, Hirotaka exhaled slowly. He had only one task left. With the last of his strength, he drove his katana into his own stomach, the steel piercing deep. A final act of defiance, a death on his own terms. The wind carried his name across the battlefield, whispering it through the mountains. Hirotaka Genji, the last samurai, and then there was silence,